Alright everyone, we are live and we're ready to go. Apologize for the delay. Had to make some dinner. Now I have to publish. So we're still kind of waiting. So that's how we do it. We're live. So, as you can see, slight setup difference in my why is that doing that? I don't want it to do that. Whatever. Well, bear with me a moment. I'm trying to eliminate my desktop from showing. But, as you can see, I have Pepakura live, and there we go. Live so everyone can see it. This is going to be my next project after I make some repairs. I got to finish up this piece, which I essentially finished mostly earlier today. I don't even have my glue gun plugged in right at the moment. Apologies. There we go. But these are the shin pieces that for the Forward Unto Dawn suit that I am trying to build for my dad. But I've got the bicep piece right here, which is essentially complete. I've got a little bit of inside gluing to do because I don't really want this to fall apart, so we're going to do that, and then we get to repair my armor, because my armor needs a little bit of work before I'm completely ready for Yumicon this fall. Pay no mind to that. Still trying to market myself a little bit, trying to get myself marketable. Just trying to be, do what I need to do to help grow my channel. I don't know why the preview decides to be dumb like that, but whatever. Alright, well, we're still waiting for this. Like I said, I did have to grab some dinner. I'm going to try to keep it off frame and try not to make it completely disgusting sounding on the audio. But I gotta eat. I had a late night at work and didn't really have a lot of time between getting home and when I had the stream scheduled. So, apologies. Alright, now that I got a bite in. Now, as you can see, I have Designer open and I have Viewer. I do use both. Most people just use one or the other. Typically, people will use the Designer because that's what allows you to change the scale on it, or on the model. But I like using the Viewer, especially when assembling. Just because I can click on a part and figure out, okay, what part is that and where does it go. It's just a lot easier to figure out what's where. So I use both, but they're not mutually exclusive to each other. You can use both like I do, but most people use the Designer because it does allow you to change the scale so that when you print it out it fits you properly. So that's that story. Oh, I didn't realize this drink was almost gone. Well, bummer. Oh well, I got backups. I've got to figure out how to get that not stupid. Okay, I think I've got that sorted out, sort of, kind of. I'll have to mess with that later. Alright, well. So, like I said, this stream may not be as long as the other ones. The first one was an hour and a half. The second one was about 2 hours. I don't know if I have that much steam in me tonight. But I want to try to get a lot of these things, a lot of these small tasks done. Because I have until I'm shooting to have the Forward Unto Dawn suit done, constructed, painted, and hopefully even strapped by the end of the month. It's a long shot, and that's a lofty goal, but given the fact that that's right about when it needs to be done to not have to worry about rushing, that's when I'd like to have it done. Now, and that the latest I want to have it done is mid-October. That way, that still leaves wiggle room. I'm not the kind of, pardon me, person that likes to do things last minute. It just never works out very well. And some people, they'll say, oh, you got a month to do it. A month isn't a lot of time, not between having to work, a full-time job, and then be able to do other things, and then still have time to craft. It's just, it doesn't work that, it don't work that well. As it is, I've procrastinated, excuse me, far too much with this particular build. So, yeah, I've got to crank this out. And I'm using this project and I'm using the live streaming as kind of a motivation for me to get this project knocked out. In addition to getting this done and doing the basic repairs for my suit, I have to build all new shins and all new boots. Yeah, those are the two parts I have to rebuild in order to have my main suit ready for Yumicon. Now I have an alternate suit, which is where my boots and my shins went to. That went to my spare suit, which is comprised of a lot of spare parts, and repainted as kind of a themed suit. And those of you that are in the Misfits and follow what I do, you'll know what the theme is. But so that's where those went. And besides the fact, I know a better way to make my shins. Yeah, because that's the wonderful thing about building and doing multiple parts is the more you do that part, you learn different ways to do things and things that make it work better. And that just helps to make it look better, to maybe build it faster, or you name it. It's like an assembly line. You do something for so long, you find little ways to make it a little better here, a little better there. And it's no different, except for the fact that this isn't an assembly line and it's just me doing it. It's kind of why I have my dad involved. Because, this is his suit. He should feel a sense of... I want him to feel a sense of ownership. And the fact that it is his. And, I just want him... I want him to be a part of it. I want him to experience what I go through when getting ready for conventions and all that stuff. Because... it's not, it almost sounds easy for those that don't know. Oh, you got plenty of time, or oh, it's not that hard. And they don't realize there's a lot to get ready, and that's if things go well. That's not really accounting for errors. Which, let's face it, errors happen, and errors have to happen a lot. I'm a firm subscriber to the Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Okay, we're going to set that aside. And look, here's one I prepared earlier. Not really. Alright. Let's go for the small projects first. Now this is a Halo Reach bicep piece built by the wonderful Halo Goddess. I don't know how well you can tell, but it has some wear and tear on it. Most notably, this part right here has split, and so I've got to repair that. Probably reinforce it on the inside as well, best as we're able, and kind of, look around, see where needs a little reinforcing. Halo Goddess does a really good job. She really does. She's really hard on herself about her work, and it's really unnecessary. She does want fantastic work. I mean, this is some of the best work I've ever seen, at least in person, especially for foam, given its limitations. But, I mean, this is just, it's fantastic. But, so, that's that. I'm going to try to turn on another light. Well, that didn't help much. Yeah, whatever. I could probably stand to do some rearrangement in my studio area. Trying to keep things on camera. It's not always easy. And then we get back into this game. Oh, look, I have to hold pieces together, because that's really exciting. Hey! The light's working. Or starting to work. Yay, that makes me happy. So not only does it help me see what I'm doing, it helps you, the viewer, see what I'm doing. Sorry. My bad. Oh yeah, I forgot. I can listen to music because I have it set up so I can listen to music. Wah wah. So I'm the kind of person that I can motivate really, and I can really knuckle down and do a lot of work while listening to music. Oh no. Okay. Oh dear. Hopefully it wasn't audible long enough to cause any problems. The last thing I need to do is try to get started doing this and then have some sort of accident where content ID thing flags me and puts the kibosh on the whole thing. That's the last thing I need. Alright, let's see if I can't kill some processes. I don't... Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can't kill a few programs and Not really any programs to close. Alright, well, great. Well, oh well. I'm going to be playing around with my layout. If you want, if you have any feedback for how I lay out my screen, by all means, leave a comment in the comment section. Nothing's set in stone at this point. I'm trying to find a formula that works. See, when you're careful, you can usually get away with not having to worry about paint problems when repairing things. So you don't want it leaking, the glue leaking through. Then we have the long wait. Still holding it. Just waiting for the glue to dry. So, yeah. Thankfully, I don't have a lot of repairs to do for my suit. You know, a little tear here, a little tear there. Most of them are on seams. There's one that isn't. But, you know, my armor has held up. My main armor has held up. Let's see. I had these upper arm pieces that Halo Goddess made since April at Midwest Media Expo, and then I was in the Kalamazoo Doodah Parade in early June, I should say. Still kind of bummed I can't find more pictures and video of that little doodah, because that was a lot of fun for me, because that was me and my dad in the Halo suits walking downtown Kalamazoo, Michigan, and that was really special to me. And I mean, just seeing my dad at his age suited up in a Halo get up, just meant the world to me, because I share a lot of similar interests with my dad, but in a lot of ways we're two very different people, which, I mean, everybody's a little different from each other, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's been difficult for me to find any common ground with him outside of aviation. You know, because we both love flying. I grew up around it, and so that's something we've always shared. But, you know, it's outside of that, we haven't had a great deal of common interests. So being able to connect with him doing this stuff was really, it really meant a lot to me. Here we have a forearm piece. This probably took the most wear and tear out of all the pieces, quite honestly. I built this. I can proudly say that I built this. I built this using the tutorial Evacura posted on the 405th forums, which I think I can access still. But I used a painting method. I don't know how well you can see it, but it looks like paint chips. But basically, in places it looks like there's silver coming through. That was a technique I learned from my buddy Thorn, who taught me, if you do a nice, after you prime it, do a good base coat of silver, like metallic silver paint, really shiny, and just let natural wear and tear happen, and it basically ends up looking like natural battle damage, because essentially it is. You're it'll damage itself into having a scuff here, scratch there, and it'll just be natural damage, and it works great. Not that I ever doubted Thorn. The only doubt that I've had with any of Thorn's advice is just doubting myself and being able to do it. And never doubt yourself. It's difficult not to doubt yourself, but never doubt yourself. I know when you're looking at different build threads and all the information that you look up and you read, it looks daunting. It really does. And when I first looked into, it was when I first looked into doing this stuff, had to have been 2007. I want to say 2007 because my grandma was still alive. Yeah. And it looked too daunting, and I didn't want to do it. And then I looked again in 2010, and I'm just like, it still looks, really difficult, and I didn't know if I could do it, and blah, 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 blah. And now, here I am. I can do it. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. I am proof in the pudding that if you put your mind to it, and you're willing to put the work into it, you can do it. You can do anything you put your mind to. And so it's the hobby in and of itself isn't that difficult in itself, especially once you get going and you do a few pieces. Just start small. Start basic. Start within your comfort zone, essentially. And there's nothing wrong with that. Start with something that, make small goals. Maybe I'll try this part, and then you do that and it looks good, or at least you feel good about it, then try a different part. Start off with a hand plate, and move to a forearm, move to a shin, move to a thigh, move to the cod piece, move to the bicep pieces, shoulder pieces, boots. Next thing you know, all you have left to do is a helmet and a torso, which are probably the two hardest pieces to do. And by that time, you'll know what you're doing. You'll know that you can do it. And you can go for it. And it'll look great. I mean, even if I've seen some pretty and I'm being trying not to be judging and judgmental. But strictly speaking, from a comparison standpoint from someone, or from seeing someone that's been doing it for a long time and has a lot of spent a lot of time on it, to a novice, even if yours looks like a novice made it, you made it and you should be proud of it, because that's your hard work. It doesn't have to look like these experts or these people that have been doing it for long. It doesn't have to look like theirs, and it really doesn't have to look like theirs straight off the bat. You'll learn. You'll get better if you want to. You can get better, and you'll learn more, and you'll find different ways of doing it, and eventually you're going to have people looking up to you on doing it. And that's part of why I'm doing these live streams, or it's really the other part of doing these live streams, because it motivates me to get working on the projects I need to work on. But if I can find a way to help out somebody that's just beginning or just getting into it, if I can help them get into it, because I'm a novice, I'm not gonna lie, I'm no professional. I keep saying this Ford Unto Dawn suit's going to be the first full suit I've made myself. If I can do that, and I can build it and record it and show people how to do it, then I've really done my I've provided that service. And that's just me giving back to the community that's given me so much. And that's what it's about. Alright. Let's go back to that. But anyway, this is a thigh, if it can cooperate. I guess I'll go back to the bicep in a minute. This is kind of how I strap the thigh piece. I'm trying to get the straight angle. It's glued like all get out in here, but it's literally nylon strapping and a buckle. And this half of the buckle loops around my belt. And then I put this on before I completely suit up, because for my undersuit I usually I just wear some sort of Under Armour type shirt, but I wear a pair of black BDU trousers, but I'll put these on when I put my belt on, so that when I go to suit up, I just have to click these in, done. And it saves a lot of time and a lot of hassle. This part was originally built by my friend of 20 years, Kat, and I've modified it here and there just based on needs of mobility. What's the point if I can't move around? And it has a nice big tear right here. So that's what we're repairing on it. And sadly, this isn't on a seam, so that's going to make things a little more interesting. And luckily it's on the inside, so it's not gonna people aren't gonna see it too much, so I'm not overly concerned. But at the same time, try to hot glue myself, try to minimize certain parts of it looking or being visible. And then one thing I always do when any kind of seam that I do, not only really? Sorry, I got distracted. Like this part, I will do it on the inside, or from surface to surface that I mate, essentially. I'll put glue on those parts, and the parts actually go up against each other, but then I'll also go on the inside and go along the seam that's on there just to kind of help reinforce that bond. Some people will use duct tape, and actually it's not a bad thing to use. If you're going to do that, use like Gorilla Tape. And even at that, use hot glue, then Gorilla Tape, then hot glue. From experience, and then it ain't going anywhere. I speak from experience. Had a minor malfunction at TrotCon with one of my thigh pieces, and that's how I fixed it. It got fixed real good. And never had it after I fixed that one. It never failed after that. So, huzzah. Alright. Okay, the real fun part is trying to... Okay. Well, it is... I guess it is kind of on a seam. And I'm not kidding you when I say liberal amounts of hot glue. Use hot glue like a politician uses your money. I generally don't have any problem with the hot glues. Gears. Metal Man. I do apologize. Well, alright, well, we'll just keep on keeping on. That's the other thing I've been loving about this hot glue gun, because it uses the bigger sticks, but it liquefies. Once it liquefies the glue and I spread it around, it spreads, and which is good, because the more surface area you can cover, the more likely whatever it is you're gluing is going to hold. You add a few layers of that kind of action, and you got a pretty good bond, which is why everything I put together with this has held extraordinarily well. Zipping, this is a cry. Well, let's see. I like Steam Powered Giraffe. Good music. Yeah. Alright, revisiting the bicep piece. This is the buckle. Gosh. This is the buckle, much like the other one on my thigh, except this, I have the other end, the female end of it, going into, trying to see if I can't give you a better shot. There. It's basically, I think they call them parachute buckles. I don't know what they're called. They've got so many freaking names that it's not even funny. But the female end of this I have literally mounted hot glued and whatever, with using a high tensile or a high strength elastic strap that's wide enough for it, strapped, attached to my undersuit, which is motorcycle armor. So I have it connected so that it won't rotate, because that is the biggest pain in the arse that I've ever had, is just spinning bicep pieces. It's got really annoying, so I did that little thing, and that fixed it like a champ, and I love it. And it's not attached to the torso piece, so I can still manage. I can, with that little tweak, I can pretty much put my entire suit on by myself unassisted. And, I mean, sometimes it is easier and very helpful to have somebody help, but it's not actually necessary. I don't necessarily need someone to help me. But like I said, it does help. It just turns into being unnecessary. Which is fine. That makes going to conventions and different events really easy, because I don't have to be like, well, I need somebody to help me with this, because I can do it. The only thing that I end up either needing help with or makes putting on the torso piece very tricky is if I have something mounted on my back, which, come to think of it, I believe I clipped those off because it was pointless. And it really was. It looked really cool because from a distance it would look like I have the magnetic attachment gun like in the game, but it turned out to be more hassle than it was worth, which is what it is. Okay, we're going to set that aside. That's still drying. Well, we're going to save that one for later. Now here, this is my new primary helmet. This is a cast from Headshot Props, and I use the visor film material from Stony Props or Icon Props, or they can be found on Etsy. I really need to clean it. Inside and out. But it's literally just hot glued in there. But these are some interesting attachments that I added at TrotCon. I have some exterior blemishes that I'd really enjoy getting rid of. Which I may have to bust out the heat gun for that. I don't really feel like doing that tonight. But the big thing is using hot glue to put that in isn't the greatest of ideas. It works, and it works fine. It's just you have to be very careful with it. You dirty dog. This is where having the other smaller hot glue gun make life a tad easier. I do have a fan mounted in this one, And gosh, get a fan. Never, if every time I see somebody with a helmet without a fan, the feels. Oh, the feels. Just don't do that to yourself, people. It's miserable. I've done that before, and it's not fun at all. There is nothing fun about it. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Some of the tint is gone. Battle damage. It's one thing that bugs me about hot glue. Just all the little stringies. I hate stringies. But with that, it's basically repaired. The wonderful thing about this visor film is the fact that it's so... you can't see through it. Well, you can see out of it, but even using flash photography, you can't... it doesn't show up, or your face doesn't show through. And I love that about it. Because almost nothing ruins a nice photo than being able to see your face through the visor. Kind of ruins the whole mysterious warrior type feel. And you can kind of see some of the leftovers of what I had on there. Alternatively, I can just paint over it. Because the thing is, I don't want to kill the paint job and have to touch it up if I don't have to. I might have to anyway. But that's done. And I've shown you this before. This is the front half of the torso. And I'm going to be adding these wheel weights. I just don't remember how I did that. I think I did them in pairs of 2. Sounds reasonable, because doing it that way I get good even weight distribution, so I can put them in the same place on each side, but I have I had said somebody was asking something about counterbalancing a torso, because they wanted to do the cool back of the torso mounting system, but it was always pulling back. And I had mentioned that I did this method, and it was met with some criticism just because it's adding weight. And the general idea of using foam is the fact that it's a light material, and it's very true. That's why I like foam. It's easy to use and it's lightweight, so I can wear it all day and be all right. But doggone it, these wheel weights add a grand total of ounce. 6 ounces. 6 ounces. That's not a lot of weight. It really isn't. But it actually makes a huge difference into how things can feel better. It actually, and for me personally, it actually helped make the torso, because I did this on my other torso piece, because I had a lot of problems with that one. But I did it with that, and it didn't make it feel any heavier when wearing it, but it made such a difference in how it fit, and it didn't want to always go to the back and choke me to death. So, and that's I understand people's hesitation and reservations about doing this, but speaking from experience, it made things so much nicer. Now, granted, this torso is mounted a little differently. It's mounted a bit more flexible, but even at that, it still kind of has that tendency to go towards the back. So adding 6 ounces to the front of it will help to counteract it. And once I stick these in, I don't just stick them in and leave them. I hot glue the snot out of them to keep them in. Just helps them stay in. That's just kind of the idea. And I'm trying to, wherever I put one on one side, I will put one in the same place on the other side. That way the weight is distributed evenly from side to side, so it's not lopsided at all. I mean, I'm already lopsided enough as it is. I don't need help. But this torso piece was built by Portland Armor Labs. I commissioned them to build it because I really like the look of theirs. And yeah, see, there's already a huge difference. And I still have 3 ounces to go. Yeah, I like the way theirs looked. So I commissioned them. And then it came, as I had requested it, unpainted. Oh, I guess I got a little tear there. I'll have to fix that. So I painted it up. Initially, it had just been a green, kind of a forest green or a hunter green, and I liked it, but at the same time, it wasn't quite what I was going for. And so eventually, it got a repaint to where it is now, which is a free-form camouflage pattern, kind of a woodland type camo. When I was in the military, that's the uniform I had, was the forest, just woodland camo. So I was in just before they started, or right when I separated. The Army was just getting the ACU uniforms distributed to the National Guard units. And then even at that, they were distributing them at basic training. But they had literally just started that, and then my time was done. So I was never actually issued the ACUs. Kind of glad. I was never really a fan. So one could say dodged a bullet on that one. I think I went off on a tangent there. Going back to people saying something about, about adding weight to a foam build. I mean, this, when you're wearing it, it makes a difference. When you're wearing it, you don't really feel the difference. At least if you do it right, and I don't think I've done it wrong. But if you do it right, you don't notice the extra 6 ounces. Oh yeah, that's a pretty good tear right there. How am I going to get to it? Ah, cords everywhere. Oh yeah. Gosh, that's a tricky spot. You know, and sometimes when you're going to add things, you find splits and tears that you didn't realize were there initially when you first went over your piece. You know, just like this, I didn't notice this until just now, live on camera. But it's nice when that happens because you can be like, oh, that's a problem fixed. So it's never really an issue. It helps you nip it in the bud. Let's see, once this part dries, I can, as you can see, let's see if you can see I've evenly distributed all the pieces. I got one right behind my fingers, but I've just evenly distributed all the little wheel weights so that it's evenly distributed, so I don't have to worry about it being a little lopsided. But that's 6 ounces. 6 ounces isn't a lot. Really isn't. Which is why I have zero issue with it. I mean, they caution to be careful, and caution is, it doesn't hurt to be cautious. But sometimes, if you have a hunch and you think something's going to work, go for it. Give it a shot. You can't try. It can't hurt to try. If you fail, well, you'll know that it doesn't work. It's like they said in Meet the Robinsons, you learn more from failure than you do success. They didn't say it exactly like that, but you get the idea. And it's insanely true. And I'm the kind of person, I hate failing. I really do. It's discouraging. It makes me not want to try. And it's miserable. I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy that feeling. And the fear of failure had kept me from doing this for a very long time. But I still struggle with it, even. I've got to make boots, and I don't want to screw up and have to waste all that material just to fail. It's not like I've got a huge budget. Well, we'll let that sit for a minute. Alright, I'm going to go on an audio break because I need to eat. Alright, the food has been consumed. But you can't... It's hard to combat that fear of failure. That's part of why I'm doing this. Having that sometimes overly critical viewing eye can, you know, you're going to always have people that are going to be mean, and they're going to be rude, and they're going to be, oh, you suck, oh, you're terrible, blah blah blah. You're always going to have people like that. You got to learn to ignore them. And sometimes those voices come from your own head, and believe me, I live that day to day. I am my own worst enemy. I am my own worst critic. But that was the nice thing about having a community, which I'm not a part of anymore. And just like that, we need another stick of glue. And we haven't even gotten those. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not just thinking about Halo 5. I've never played Halo for the multiplayer, or at least solely for the multiplayer. My introduction to Halo was via the PC. So I played Halo Combat Evolved PC for, quite a long time. And I even played it online. But it was my introduction, and for the longest time, the only two Halos I could play were Halo CE and Halo 2, both on the PC, because I never had an Xbox. I never even had, let alone a 360, up until late 2010. But, so, I didn't get to play Halo 3 until late 2010 when I finally was able to get an Xbox 360. Thank you, Mom, for that. So the bulk of my love of Halo came from the story. Because I rarely had a connection to play over the internet, and I don't have a lot of friends, at least that would come over and play. So, the story has always been the biggest selling point for me. And a lot of people are giving Halo 5 flack for a lot of things. And, as far as some of the multiplayer changes, and, with them talking about, microtransactions for armor upgrades and multiplayer, that's discouraging to me, just in and of itself. I hate microtransactions. I hate them. It's just another way of money grubbing. The sad part is people are suckers for it. So I can't blame them for doing it, because if you have somebody dumb enough to fall for it every time, why not take advantage of it? At the same time, I just don't like the fact that they do it, because it's just, Well, it's kind of like GTA money, and I'll admit to the fact that I've bought those shark cards from time to time, not often, but it's just another way to suck money out of the community, out of your players. Like paid DLC. It's like, really? You make half a game, and then you release the DLC that's basically the other half of the game. I'd rather wait for the whole game, and then if you have additional content, release it, but we're already spending $60, and we're spending a lot more than that with the DLC, especially when it comes to games that are just not completed games. And it's just, why? People fall for it. And it's like Destiny. I liked playing Destiny, don't get me wrong, and I got the season pass for it. I pre-ordered it. I showed up in my Halo gear for launch. But but getting back to just how me and Halo, I'm interested in the storyline between Agent Locke and Team Osiris hunting the Chief and Blue Team. Which, how cool is it that now Blue Team is back? Fred, Linda, Kelly, and Chief. Because the last time you see anything of Linda in the games is Halo CE, when you're going through that right before you, or when you're making your way to the escape pod, when you go past the cryopod room, when you're in the control room for it. If you go out the exit, hang a left, and then another immediate left, and look at the screens, that's Linda. And so that's really all at least just from the games. If you read the books, it kind of goes into other stuff, which I enjoyed most of the books. Yeah, it's weight, but not too much. It should be nice. So I'm looking for. I don't have Halo 5 pre-ordered. I will get it eventually. Finances depending. Yeah, that looks good. I do intend on getting it at some point. It's just the next couple of months are going to be really interesting for me. It's kind of like plans that tentative plans that I have for next year and going to conventions is lofty. It's it's ambitious. But there's several local Spartans that I don't even know if they want me around, which is all up to them. I'll go and I'll try to hang out. If they don't want me around, I'll leave. Still gonna enjoy the convention. The next tentative convention that after Yumicon, obviously, is I believe C2E2 in Chicago in March. Oh, my battery is dead. I'll be darned. Oh well. That's not the part I was grabbing for, but yeah, it looks good. Alright. Still just kind of going over different parts. And I need more glue soon. But no, Halo 5 story, it looks interesting. You know, if I nitpicked the story in Halo 4, I could probably find a reason to have not enjoyed it. But just in general, I thought it was good. One of the complaints I had about Halo 4 is Spartan Ops. And I thought it was kind of bogus that you had to be a gold member to play it. And they didn't have Firefight. And I loved Firefight. Gruntpocalypse, man, that was a hoot. But, you know, in general, I liked Halo 4. It wasn't my favorite Halo by any means. That title will always go to Reach until such a time as they develop something that's similar. I like a good tragedy story, which that's what Reach is. Reach is just, it's a tragedy from the get-go. Because if you play the other three, if you play Halo 1, 2, 3, and not necessarily ODST, you can't go anywhere without, you know, getting reference that Reach is gone. Glassed. You know, just toast. You know, so you just, you know what happened at Reach, but you don't really, I mean, they kind of go into it in the books, but they don't necessarily really delve into it in the games. So then they come out with Halo Reach, and it's just like, oh, we know how it ends, but how does it happen? How does the story play out? So that I enjoyed that, and man, Bungie knew how to give you the feels. They gave you they really knew how to give you the feels. Man. Yeah, and I honestly think they lost that Halo. It lost a lot of its good storytelling when Bungie left. You know, and you know the sad part about Halo being as successful as it was and is it's kind of a cash cow for Microsoft. So you know they're going to try to milk that for as much as they can, which it's their prerogative. But for me, as long as it still provides a good story, I will still be interested in buying it. And with Halo Nightfall tying into Halo 5, Halo Nightfall made me like Agent Locke, but then they started putting out trailers for Halo 5 and Agent Locke's hunting the Chief. That made me hate Agent Locke, because I'm always going to side with the Chief. I'm always going to be on Team Chief. It's pure and simple. But, so, you know, that's interesting. But I think I'm going to call the stream a complete. I got all the little things that I wanted to get done completed. I didn't work on the shins, which that's okay. I wasn't really aiming to get to those tonight anyhow. I might do a live stream tomorrow night. I don't think I'll get it done, get one during the day, but who knows. So until the next time, I shall see you later.